Have you ever felt that your story didn't actually begin on the day you were born? That maybe, long before you took your first breath, something or someone already knew who you would become? It's easy to believe that life starts at birth, that it's defined by our memories, our achievements, or the struggles we've survived. But what if the truth runs much deeper? What if your existence was part of a divine plan written long before time even began? There is a sacred mystery hidden within you, a purpose planted in your soul before your eyes ever opened to the light of this world. And the fact that you're hearing these words right now is not random. You are not a mistake, and this moment is not coincidence. Everything about your journey has been guided, even the moments that seemed chaotic or meaningless. When we turn to ancient writings, especially the scriptures, we begin to see patterns, evidence that every life is known, chosen, and set apart by God long before it appears on earth. His choices are not based on our strength or accomplishments. They are born from His divine will, something far greater than human effort or logic. Perhaps you've already felt that quiet stirring within the sense that life as you know it isn't all there is, a subtle restlessness that whispers, "You were made for more." It doesn't fade, even when things are going well. It lingers in the silence, in the moments of peace that should feel complete but somehow don't. That emptiness is not a flaw, it's a signal. Like a seed pressing against the shell before it breaks open, your soul feels the tension of transformation. The discomfort you feel might actually be the preparation of God, shaping you for something far beyond your imagination. But how can you tell whether this stirring is divine or simply the noise of anxiety or frustration? There are signs, gentle, consistent patterns in the lives of those who are chosen. The first is that the feeling never disappears. Even after success, stability, or recognition, an inner voice still whispers, "There's more." The second sign is a growing desire for what nourishes the soul: truth, justice, compassion, beauty, and faith. And third, that inner calling always leads towards service, not self-glory. It pulls you outward, toward others, toward love. And when it's truly from God, confirmations appear in your path, doors opening, people crossing your way, events unfolding that align perfectly without your control. Being chosen does not mean living an easy life. In fact, many who carry this calling face rejection, solitude, and seasons of deep testing. Yet even in hardship, something sustains them, an invisible strength that refuses to let them fall. That is because divine purpose is never measured by applause, but by the fruit it produces: love, patience, hope, and transformation. It's essential then to examine the heart. Not every passionate desire comes from above. The ego can disguise itself as destiny, but the true call of God always leads to humility and healing. It unites, it doesn't divide. And no one is meant to discover this purpose alone. Wisdom often comes through the voices of those who've walked farther on the path. Seek counsel, share your heart, and remain open to learning. In that vulnerability, clarity is born. While you wait for answers, remember, divine timing cannot be rushed. This is not a race. The waiting is part of the awakening. Create moments of stillness, step away from noise, and let the voice of God find you in the quiet. Write down the thoughts that echo again and again. Notice the patterns, serve faithfully in small things, and let patience do its work. Feeling like you don't belong in this world is not rejection, it's revelation. It's the soul remembering its true origin. You were not misplaced, you were preserved. You were set apart for something higher. That restlessness is not your enemy. It may be God's invitation for you to rediscover who you truly are. And that invitation has echoed through time in the lives of those who walked this same mysterious path. One of them was Enoch. His name rarely appears in sermons, yet his story holds a depth that few have dared to explore. The scriptures describe Enoch as a man who walked with God so closely, so completely, that death itself could not touch him. The text simply says, "And God took him." Imagine that, a life of such pure communion that the boundary between heaven and earth dissolved. But Enoch's legacy is more than a miraculous disappearance. He was entrusted with visions, messages about the future of humanity, about divine judgment, about the invisible war between light and darkness. His writings contain mysteries that still challenge the human mind. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was honored and read among ancient believers. Even the New Testament writer Jude quotes Enoch directly, recognizing the spiritual authority in his words. And yet, through time, his testimony was pushed aside, buried in silence. Why? Why would a man so close to God, whose revelations were acknowledged by prophets, be forgotten by the world? That question opens a deeper understanding not only of Enoch's life, but of ours. His story reflects a universal truth. Whenever God reveals something that can free humanity, there are always forces that try to suppress it. Enoch's journey mirrors our own struggle between divine calling and human resistance, and that is what makes his message so powerful today. When we rediscover what was once hidden, we also uncover forgotten pieces of ourselves. Enoch's revelations remind us that life is more than survival. It's participation in an eternal design. He saw what most could not: the unseen realm, the ongoing conflict between the fallen and the faithful, the unfolding justice of God. He spoke of a chosen one who would come to restore balance and bring judgment upon the wicked, a prophecy that many believe pointed directly to Jesus Christ, written thousands of years before his birth. Think about that. A man who lived before Moses, before the law itself, already spoke of redemption, of the coming Messiah, of the end of corruption and the renewal of creation. His message still echoes because it transcends time. Enoch's story is not just ancient history, it's a reminder that our lives too are threads woven into a divine tapestry. The battles we face are not meaningless. Every choice, every act of kindness, every moment of faith carries eternal weight. And maybe, just maybe, that restlessness within you, the one you've been trying to silence, is the same divine whisper that once guided Enoch. A call to rise, to walk closer with God, and to rediscover the purpose that began long before your first breath. In my opinion, the story of Enoch and the idea of being chosen before birth reveal something profoundly true about the nature of life and purpose. I don't believe we are here by accident. Every experience, even the painful ones, seems to shape us for something greater. I've come to feel that the deep restlessness so many of us carry isn't a curse. It's a sign that our souls remember where we came from. For me, the message of Enoch is more than an ancient tale. It's a reflection of what happens when a human being truly walks in harmony with the divine. His life shows that there's a higher reality beyond what we can see, and that those who seek truth with sincerity can experience a closeness with God that transcends time and death itself. I think the reason Enoch's story was hidden or forgotten for so long is because it challenges everything that limits our spiritual understanding. It reminds us that each of us carries something eternal inside, a calling that can't be silenced. To me, discovering that truth is the real purpose of life, to remember who we are in God, to walk in that awareness, and to allow that connection to transform not just us, but the world around us. These messages are not easy to embrace. They challenge the human tendency to stay comfortable, to live as mere observers of a life that seems ordinary. They reveal that we are active participants in a spiritual struggle, a battle between light and darkness, truth and deception, eternal purpose and fleeting distractions. Perhaps this is exactly why Enoch's words were considered so dangerous. If humanity truly grasped what he wrote, If people believed that a divine calling exists, that there is an eternal purpose, and that our choices shape destinies, it would transform the way we live entirely. Systems built on lies, fear, and manipulation would crumble under the illumination of truth. Reading Enoch today is not just encountering ancient stories, it is hearing warnings that remain relevant, reminders that life is more than what appears before our eyes. Something greater is happening, and each of us has a role to play. The reason these revelations were suppressed throughout history was not due to weakness or lack of value, but because they were overwhelmingly powerful. They challenged the human perception of life, destiny, and the world itself. If the truths Enoch shared were so profound, one might wonder why so few speak of them today. Why was his book neglected, pushed aside, almost erased? The answer is not only historical, it is deeply human. Leaders, religious authorities, and earthly powers for centuries determined which texts would be accepted as sacred and which would be excluded. This process was complex, full of debates, competing interests, and struggles for control. In this process, Enoch's writings were forced into obscurity not because they lacked truth, but because they revealed realities too disruptive to existing structures. Imagine if everyone had access to a clear message about the spiritual battle, the corruption in the world, the fate of the wicked, and the hope of the righteous. Such awareness could ignite a faith that could not be controlled, courage that refuses to bow to human power, and clarity that cannot be manipulated by shallow rhetoric. To those who sought control through fear and ignorance, this was far too dangerous. Thus, silence was imposed. Enoch's book was marginalized, dismissed by some as uninspired, forgotten by many, even banned at times. It was as if its pages were locked away, hidden from humanity, preventing access to a truth that could liberate hearts and minds. But truth has a peculiar resilience. It can be hidden, suppressed, and ignored, but it cannot be destroyed. Through the centuries, copies of Enoch survived, preserved in distant communities, particularly in Ethiopia, where it is still revered as sacred. It is as if God left a spark, waiting for the right moment to ignite. The fact that authorities rejected Enoch's writings does not diminish their value. On the contrary, it shows the profound impact his words carried. If it were ordinary, it would have disappeared naturally. Instead, it endured, resisting oblivion, continuing to resonate to this day. This forces reflection on a vital point. Spiritual truths are often silenced not because they are insignificant, but because they are too powerful. The world tends to suppress messages that could awaken humanity to its true destiny. Understanding the potency of Enoch's words is crucial to appreciating their relevance. His writings were never shallow or ordinary. They exposed the hidden workings of creation, the corruption that entered the world, and the certainty that God's justice cannot be delayed. Enoch speaks of angels who rebelled, sharing forbidden knowledge, leading humanity astray, and multiplying evil. He describes the influence of these fallen beings over societies, corrupting values, and turning people away from God. Consider the effect of such a message. It challenges not only human behavior, but also the very structures that rely on appearances and deception. Moreover, Enoch proclaims the reality of divine judgment for those who oppose God, emphasizing that consequences are real and unavoidable. He foretells the rise of the Messiah, the chosen one who would bring justice and restore order, a prophecy many scholars see as pointing to Christ thousands of years before his birth. This is precisely why his words were silenced. They confronted systems of power and exposed uncomfortable truths. But the true power of Enoch's message lies not only in revealing the past or foretelling the future, it speaks directly to the present. His words awaken the conscience, stir the soul, and strengthen hope, reminding us that despite the darkness in the world, God has not abandoned his people. There is a plan, and that plan includes you. Reading Enoch reminds us that we are not random pieces on a cosmic board. There is a battle taking place, and each of us has a role. Evil will not have the final word, and God's justice will prevail. Life ceases to be a meaningless routine and becomes a journey with purpose, a walk that points toward eternity. This is why Enoch's book was considered dangerous, not as a story, but as a key to transform the way we perceive the world and our own lives. And now, the question becomes personal. What does all this mean for you? You are not here by accident. That restless feeling in your heart, the sense that you do not fully belong, is not a flaw or weakness. It is a sign that you have been set apart, reserved for a greater purpose beyond what the eyes can see. Enoch exemplified this truth. He did not follow the crowd. He walked with God. That choice distinguished him. In the same way, each of us is called to live a faith that transcends appearances, to trust God even when the world moves in the opposite direction. The restlessness inside you is not a burden, it is an invitation. God is calling you to see beyond the immediate, to live beyond the ordinary, and to become an active part of the story He is writing. This calling may take many forms. Some serve quietly, helping others without recognition. Others speak boldly against injustice, even at the cost of rejection. Others remain steadfast when everything crumbles. But all share a common root: to live as one chosen by God, reflecting His presence in the world. You may ask, why me? I lack gifts, strength, or courage. This is where God's grace intervenes. The calling does not depend on your strength, but on His strength within you. It is not about your past, but about the future He has already written. What matters is your willingness to say yes. Do not silence the restlessness in your heart with distractions or fear. That voice may be God Himself reminding you, you do not belong to this world. You were chosen. You were set apart. You were preserved. And now, the most important question remains. What will you do with this calling? The message of Enoch is not distant history or mere curiosity. It points directly to you, to your life, and to the eternal purpose you were created to fulfill. Walk with God. Trust His plan. Let the flame of faith within you burn, even in the darkest nights. This is your invitation. Will you answer it? From my perspective, the message of Enoch is a profound reminder that life is never random and that each of us carries a divine purpose. The restlessness I've felt in my own heart makes sense. Now it is not a weakness, but a call to awaken, to step beyond the ordinary and recognize that I am part of something far greater. I see clearly that being chosen does not mean ease or comfort. It means courage, faith, and perseverance in the face of trials. Enoch's life shows me that walking closely with God transforms everything: our perception of the world, our understanding of justice, and even our relationship with time and destiny. Spiritually, I feel that the lesson is deeply personal. God has set each of us apart, preserved us, and invited us to participate actively in His eternal plan. The challenges, the discomfort, and the inner stirring are all part of this divine shaping. For me, this realization inspires both humility and purpose. Humility, because I am reminded that my strength alone is insufficient. Purpose, because I understand that my life has meaning beyond what I see or experience day to day. The call is real, and it is urgent. To live consciously, to embrace the eternal perspective, and to let God's light shine through me in every action, word, and thought. This is my takeaway. I am not here by accident. I am chosen, I am preserved, and I am invited to walk in the same intimacy with God that Enoch experienced. And with that understanding comes a responsibility to answer the call, to live deliberately, and to allow the divine plan to unfold through my life.